stop living. But to a teenager, if I go on live, say like I'm a teenager and I go on live and you don't like my video, all of you that are watching, guess what? I will feel less validated. I don't feel like it's worth something to do again. But since we are talking about teenagers and the dopamine that is released from likes, guys, go ahead and like. If so far what you've heard is interesting, go ahead and like. It will release some dopamine probably in me as well, and I'll be able to do other videos. But for teenagers, guys, when they post something and get a like or a comment, their brain releases dopamine. The same chemical linked to motivation and addiction. It's that chemical that is released in them. Over time, this rewires the brain to crave more and more, like more attention, So if before they were posting just pictures of their faces, they start releasing pictures of more flesh exposed, like they wear more sleevelesses. It's like before they were covering up, they start taking more pictures with less covering. Craving for more attention, craving for more stimulation. How do I get my numbers to go up? And so they start, craving for more things that would get their views up, more scrolling. If they are online, they will scroll fast. And then before you know it, they are just addicted to scrolling. And it's midnight, it's past midnight, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3. They are awake on social media. Yeah. So when parents say, just get off your phone, it's not as simple for many teens. That phone isn't a tool. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifeline for them. It's like you're taking away their life. Part of their life is there. So when you say get away from your phone, for a teenager, it's a lifeline. I mean, I can also see it on my younger ones when actually they watch or they get online and you try to get them to do something and they are walking around with the tab. It's not healthy. So we need to find ways of dealing with that, and we are going to be handling that shortly. That's why our approach must shift from punishment to a partnership with our children. And now our segment 4, how parents can engage without controlling their teenagers. Yeah, we are going to talk about the most important part, your role as a parent. How do you guide without controlling? We are going to have 6 practical tips, and I pray that if we practice them, guys, these will help us be able to handle our teenagers and their mental health. So we are going to talk about model health use. Yeah, model health use. In this, kids copy, guys, what they see. If we are always on our phones, they will follow the set example. So as a family, take boundaries like no phones at dinner should be something that we implement. We need to live by example, where we, as well as parents, don't do what we are not, don't preach to them what we are not practicing. So we do regulate. How many times do we use our gadgets at home when our kids are around? If it is time to spend time together, let us all put our gadgets away so they learn from what they see, that my parents, when it's this time, we don't get online. So they give and tell their friends, I can only be on my phone up to this time. That would help. Ask, don't accuse is another thing that we need to do for our teenagers. Instead of us always being on the phone, let's try, hey, I noticed you've been online a lot. How are you feeling today? That would also help. Instead of us asking, accusing them, you are always on your phone. I don't understand why you ever get out of this. Instead of us accusing, let us be more of, ask people who ask. You ask them, I've noticed you've been online the whole day. How are you feeling? Sometimes it's because, also me, sometimes when I feel tired, one way of unwinding is getting on there and just getting on my phone and playing some Candy Crush. It really helps me unwind. But when I'm on my phone, especially when I'm talking with someone on WhatsApp, my kids notice and they can come and just get on there and also just do what they want. After all, they saw mommy on the phone and not leaving. So that is something we need to also do. We ask them, not accuse them of what they are doing on there. Learn their platforms. If they are on TikTok, join Instagram, join Snapchat, not to spy, get me right, not to spy, but to understand. Know how the apps work. Knowing how they work helps you talk their language. We need to get on those apps so we know what is on there. There's a time I got on Snapchat. Oh my daughter said, Mommy, Snapchat takes nice pictures. So get on it. And I got on it. And when I got on there and I saw what people were sending me, I was like, I don't even know what you guys are doing on here. I'm just going to delete it and remove it from my phone. It's not helpful, because I got to see what was going on. And to me, it seemed childish. Just people just exchanging pictures, showing their latest shoes. I'm not into shoes, showing their latest clothes. That's not my cup of tea. So we get to know their world by getting onto those apps. If they're on Snapchat, you get to understand, okay, as young people, I think this means something to them to show off. It's their avenue of showing off. But if we don't get on those platforms, we will not understand their world and speak their language. Yeah. Co-create rules. Another thing that could help us. Practical tips on how to help us control. How do we guide our teenagers and not control them? Another one would be co-create rules. Sit together and agree on screen time. Screen time limits, when they help make the rules, trust me, they are more likely to keep them. But if they don't help you make those rules, it looks like you are a dictator, and guess what? They will be always working towards breaking them. So how do you get them to work with you? Is by sitting with them and making them together. Because the moment you do that, guess what happens, guys? They will make sure they keep them, because they sat with you and agreed to keep them. Or these are the rules that would run this whole thing. So another thing is balance online with offline joy. We need to create some kind of a balance for our teenagers. Encourage hobbies like sports, real friendship, because people can have friends, 1,000 friends, 1,000 followers, 900, 500, but none of them knows you for who you are. Neither do you know all of them. But you say you have 1,000 friends. So encourage them to have real friendship with people, to have some bit of hobbies or join some sports. Online happiness reduces online depression. Offline happiness reduces online dependency. Like now, for me at home, I have dogs. When I tell my daughter, leave the phone alone or stop playing with the tab, the next thing, Mommy, can I go and be with the dogs? And I'm like, yeah, you go and be with them. Because that's one way. We have to create those other things that they can escape to. You can have a rabbit project where your children at least can go and get into something, or get them into drawing and painting. You buy books and let's compete who draws the best this particular picture. Some of these things we think require a lot of money, but they don't. Some of these things are cheap. We can have joy and offline joy without spending a lot of money. I know for us, we think it is only the rich who can afford such a lifestyle, but we can have true joy even without spending so much. You buy some books and get some pencils and start competing drawing, and it's known to them, like especially now when they are about to have their breaks from school. You can have this in place. You're 7 at home, you buy 7 books and buy colors, buy markers, buy pencils. And then when they are home, you can say, after this time, let's draw. And we all dig in and just draw and see who has the best. At the end of the day, you pick up a picture on the phone and say, we are drawing this, and you all start. Or you can do sports. You buy a ball and play football. There are times we've played football and you won't believe who scored. I was the best scorer. If any of you can believe me, I was the best scorer. But anyway, there are so many ways we can unwind offline. And like I said, offline happiness uh, reduces online dependence. And another thing that we need to adapt to as well is stay curious, not critical, but curious. Curious enough if your teen shares something you don't get, like a meme. Yeah. There are memes we don't understand because these things, guys, work with age. Remember, they are the first generation that has been brought up entirely online. So they understand so many things, and we just have to get to that point where we accept our teenagers do understand more than we do. Our teenagers do know things more than probably we do. So if your teen shares something you don't understand, like a meme, a trend, a song, don't judge. Be curious. It builds trust in our children when we trust them and we don't judge them, but we are curious enough to find out what it's all about that they are into. Now this leads us to segment 5. Yeah. Spotting the warning signs that your teenager is bordering now mental health basing on social media. I would say this, parents, here are some real red flags that social media might be hurting your child mental health. I hope someone is listening, guys. It's a live podcast, and you can go ahead and drop in the comment section. If any of this is helping you, if any of this is guiding you, drop in the comment section. Let me know your experiences and who is watching. Otherwise, back to what we're talking about, it's spotting the warning signs that your child may be dealing with mental health. The sudden withdrawal from family or friends. If your child pulls away all of a sudden and is not into visiting people, talking to people, if they're in a place that is small and they don't have their own rooms, they find always their corners and they just want to be by themselves. You need to be on a lookout for that one, because that one could be a sign that your child is bordering mental health. Something could be going on basing on social media. The frequent mood swings, over something small, they are changing, they are being aggressive. It's because something is already happening somewhere else in their world. And so they are bringing it out to your real world. That is why they are acting the way they are. So you need to also be on a lookout for that. Check it out, find out, why is my child frequently having these mood swings? Then the obsession with the likes and followers. That is very obvious, because if you see your child taking down pictures, like you take a picture eating and then after that you take it down, you need to be checking them out to see why is that happening, because chances are it's happening because they are looking for validation. They are already validating themselves basing on social media. So you need to check that out. The obsession with likes and followers. Then the decline in school performance. I know decline in school performance can be dependent on so many things, but if your child was performing well and all of a sudden they are really going down and spending more time on their phones, you just know social media is taking them down the drain, and you check into that and see what is really going on. Those are the pointers to social media being a factor into your child's mental health. Something could be going on. The secretive phone use. If your child is always secretive when they are using their phones, they are probably into something that you don't want them to be into, and that could be taking them down the drain. So check that one out as well. The expression of worthlessness. Like they feel like they are worth nothing. Something could be going on. Check it out, guys. Because like I said, there's cyberbullying. If your child has been bullied or is being bullied online, you will not know, but you start seeing them losing self-worth. And if you check deeper, you will see that probably someone online is saying they are not ugly, they should go, do something to themselves because they don't belong here, they should be in another world. People throw around all kinds of comments. Now, some of us grown-ups, we can handle this. I'm not saying all of us are strong enough to handle that, but some of us can, some can't. But our teenagers are way young. Like I said, guys, they are young adults. And like I said, they have a brain that is under construction. If you are building something and you put the wrong cement, the building will crumble and fall to the ground. Same applies to our children, our teenagers. Once they are cyberbullied, once something is going online that is not healthy for them, you just see obvious things happening to them. It's obvious to us, but we tend to, dismiss or not pay close attention to, especially if we come in the evening tired from work and then having to leave early in the morning. Some of these things can go on without us noticing. Or if we put them in boarding school and things are going on in boarding school and you have no idea, and they are young adults trying to learn how to deal with all this, make sense of why they even have to go to school anyway. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. So we just have to get into their world, understand them, and then help them. So if you notice several of these, it's not time for blame. It's time for conversation and care. If you see any of the things that I've listed below happening to your teenager, don't blame them. It is time for you to care, to have those conversations and to care. Because if you don't, we don't want to live in regrets. Guys, we work so hard and all our efforts are tailored to our children having a better world. I trust me, I don't know about you guys, but my dream, my greatest desire is to see that my kids have a better life than I had growing up. But guess what? While I'm doing that, I don't want to lose them. I want to give them all that I didn't get, but again, be able to retain a fully functional or healthy person at the end of the day. Try saying, if, like I said, if you see any of those things that are going on, it's not time for blame. It's time for conversation and care. Now, you could try by saying, I've noticed you seem sad lately. You could just start off like that. And I'm worried about you. Can we talk? There's a way we think our children, I don't know where that came from, a mentality that is in Africans. We don't think our children need to be recognized. Actually, there are some people who say kids have no say. There's this lady who carried a child and they were in many people and the lady farted. And then she started blaming the kid and the kid said, "No, auntie, it's not me. It was you who was tearing." And the auntie, out of embarrassment, beat the boy up and she knew she had done it. So we need to also recognize that our children, our teenagers especially, are young adults. They are not yet adults, but they are not young anymore. As we used to take it, where they could take anything. We could blame them for anything. They had no say. They are young adults. Once you understand that, guys, then you'll be able to recognize that while you're dealing with them, you need to treat them as such. Now, if you use that approach where you say, "I'm worried about you, can we talk?" And if they don't open up immediately, stay patient. We need to learn how to handle them. Keep showing love through consistency, not lectures. I mean, they get all these talks from their friends and all these other social media platforms. Not lectures, just small talks. Yeah. Now, it leads us to the next segment, segment 6, reconnecting through digital empathy. Yeah, reconnecting through digital empathy is what we are going to talk about. I call it digital empathy because understanding their world without condemning it is what it would take. We need to understand their world without condemning it.